Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the ME7 Look Back Live here at Priestfield Stadium. As you can see behind me, we have the Wall of Legends here, some notable names there, and we look forward to making some more as the end of this season comes to a close. But today we are here to look back on the month of February. Join myself, James Hawkins, Luke and Harry to look back through a memorable February month for the Gills over the next hour. Hello everyone, as I said, welcome back to the ME7 podcast. We're back here at Priestfield for our second live edition of the show to look back on what has been a very memorable February month for the Gills. Lots of great results, 6 wins from 8, and spirits are very much high. We come here today in association with Block Pictures, and firstly thank you to our sponsor for this show, Mr. Chris Tiger, for anything security related, including fire alarms, intruder alarms, CCTV systems. Get into Chris Tiger, who's also the proud sponsor of Gills players Dom Jeffries, Jake Turner, Rob McKenzie, and of course us here at the ME7 podcast. So, as I say, we're here from Priestfield, joined of course by my co-host James Hawkins.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm very good. Harry also joins us today for his debut on the show. How are you feeling?
Well, you're a lot better than I would have been doing this last month, to be fair, with the results.
And of course, back for his second edition on a live show, regular contributor Luke is here as well. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very good. Look, boys, obviously last time we did this show, we came live off the back of a very impressive result. It was against Crawley that time, and we were looking to turn the good form and continue it on throughout the remainder of this month, and that's certainly something that's happened, hasn't it? I mean, I'm not sure many Jules fans could have predicted us to be on the run of form that we are currently on, and it's something that's very much enjoyable. Obviously, we'll quickly touch on the past game this past Saturday against AFC Wimbledon. Gillingham's a very notable bogey team, Luke. Obviously, a team we don't get too many positive results against, but a 2-1 victory at home, goals from two very different sources that we perhaps wouldn't have expected. Max Aymer and Chad Alexander. Obviously, myself and James, we did the space on Saturday. We haven't heard your or Harry's views on the game, so firstly we'll go to you, Luke. What did you think of the performance, and obviously another good result?
Yeah, another 3 points, and it was a mile away from what we saw the first game of the season, Wimbledon away, when we lost 2-0. Completely different side, completely different mentality, completely different characters, and obviously with the new 6 players that are starting in the lineup every week now, we looked like a completely different side, which was brilliant. Obviously the first half was very scrappy. Obviously Wimbledon wanting to do their job on players, late elbows, fouls, trying to, let's say, purposely injure some of our players. But we managed that well. Not too many chances in the first half, apart from obviously McDonald's wonder strike that took a deflection and the keeper made a great save. But yeah, we all know my opinion on Neil Harris, but you have to give him, again, he has to have kudos for the last 2 to 3 games, when at the minute we are a 45-minute side, and especially when you're a 45-minute side in the second half, when he's going into the change rooms making the necessary tactical changes, you've got to give the man another shout out, which I seem to be doing every week recently. But yeah, the goals were, Sean Williams' header was unreal, and then obviously Aymer to come in and sneak that one in, and then Che Alexander, who probably won't score a goal like that ever again in his life against his old side, was brilliant. But I thought, again, the way we managed the second half as well, I would have liked Harris to bring Will Wright on maybe 5 minutes earlier, because I thought we was getting slightly undercost, and they were pushing hard. But yeah, again, I don't mind if we're only a 45-minute side, but winning games, then who really cares?
Yeah, of course, Harry, it was another great victory for the Gills, as Luke said there. He sounds like a changed man almost, all this Neil Harris gratitude. I don't recognise him. But yeah, you obviously there. What was your thoughts on the result? Obviously, it's the 4th successive home victory now. Obviously, we had a lot of time during the start of the season, not both home and away, obviously, but at home it seemed as though we were never going to see a home win again for a while. To get 4 wins in a row, and obviously the manner we did it in a great strike from Che as well, it must have been a great game to oversee from your point of view as well. Yeah,
exactly what Luke said, really. It was a gritty performance, which we haven't, seen that this season. You go a goal behind, and we've been so used to I even felt a bit nervous as we went a goal behind. I think the fact we got the goal back so quickly after we conceded, I think that was really positive, and helped us go on for the win. I think there wasn't many chances in the game generally. But that's just, I'm happy to see that when we're not playing, not that we played badly, but we weren't at our best, I wouldn't say, as good as we've been in recent weeks. And I'm glad to see that even when we're not playing at our best, we can get over the line and get 3 points. And that's what you need to do in League 2.
I think as well that the amount of changes that we're making weekly in different positions. Obviously, you see Che coming again at right back, which arguably so he deserves to be there at the minute. Obviously, Tatunda coming back in, there was a change in midfield. Is that we're still winning games, but changing personnel regularly, albeit through injuries or game management, where we're going from Saturday to Tuesdays. So it's still good to see that we're still making changes and we're still winning games, and that's got to be credit to the group and the work that they're putting in training and how Harris is setting them up.
Yeah, just to jump on that touch from Luke there, James. Obviously, it wasn't a performance without its difficulties. Obviously, no one wants to lose 2 of your starters, especially 2 of the most significant signings we made this January in Tim Diang and Tom Nichols, both having to come off injured. But to Luke's point there, Neil Harris spoke it up as well himself in his post-match interview. He said, well, obviously it's difficult to lose both Diang and Nichols, but then he looks across the bench and he can bring on Sean Williams and Aidan O'Brien, and that's just a great signifier of not just the success of the window, but how we have got that fantastic strength and depth now as well.
Yeah, I think hit the nail on the head. I think we have got that strength and depth now. And when you're bringing up players off the bench like Aidan O'Brien and Sean Williams, both can easily start in this dual side. It gives Neil Harris obviously a good headache. Because I thought Aidan, to be fair, after his recent performances, deserved to start. I thought he was excellent again on Saturday. But I think that's the difference now, is that Harris has got sort of those 3 or 4 options off the bench that can turn games. I think at times we've looked a little bit lost without Sean Williams in that midfield. I think he just puts a foot on it and gets us under control. I think he did that on Saturday when he come on. We looked just a little bit lost in that midfield where no one sits and holds and calms play down without Sean in there. And as soon as Sean comes on, we started just dictating the ball a little bit more and keeping hold of it. But like you say, we've got the strength in depth now. We made 3 changes, we made 3 changes on Saturday and looked no weaker. And I think Harris is surely delighted with that.
Certainly will be. Obviously, Luke, we talk a lot about the January window, and we have done very specifically in recent weeks because it has been a window which, people might say this is an exaggeration, but I don't think it is. It's completely changed our season, hasn't it, really, in terms of where we were prior to the window and where we are now and the types of players we can call upon. And I think, as James said, it's so fundamental in recent weeks. George Lapsley's got off the mark now with 2 in 2 prior to Saturday. Same with Ollie Hawkins as well. And we've lost Tim DeYoung and Tom Nichols, hopefully not for long. But as we said earlier, bringing on Aidan O'Brien to fill that void, it's something that probably if someone told you we'd have those options a few months ago, you wouldn't believe them, would you? It's an incredible turnaround.
No, and I think Aidan O'Brien gives you something completely different that we haven't had for a while as well, is that obviously he is a player that has played leagues above where we're at. And you can tell that as soon as he comes on, his first touch, he hardly gives the ball away. And his experience, and again, we've touched on it from a number of weeks now about the characters and Harris said it himself. It's all about the right type of character, because we've said you don't have to be the best team in the world, but if you've got a team that are going to fight for one another, then you're going to win games. And I think that's what we've got at the minute. We don't play the best football. We're probably not the most attacking minded team, but bloody hell, that team is together and they're fighting for one another each and every week.
Yeah, Harry, it's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Because before, obviously, the January window, I wouldn't say we didn't have a team that were fighting for each other. It was more a case of we just didn't have the quality in the right areas, and individually it wasn't quite working out. But now we've got these players to call upon. They're all playing integral roles. I mean, you only have to look at the resurgence of Sean Williams, for example, post-Christmas, I'd say. Obviously, the performance against Leicester in the FA Cup was potentially the springboard for that, because ever since then it's been a different Sean Williams we've seen. He obviously played a big part in the opening goal, which we're going to talk about now. It was his header from the free kick that was tipped onto the post. Actually, I feel quite bad for the Wimbledon keeper. It was actually quite a good save, to be fair to him. He tipped it onto the post, but another player who's come leaps and bounds through certainly the second half of this season is Max Amer, and you have 2 of your most improved players who have improved due to having better players around them, and obviously they both combined for the goal. Just talk us through the opening goal and what you thought of it.
Well, I thought it was a great ball in by Maka to start with. I think some of his deliveries, especially since January, have been on the money. I think Neil Harris' sides have always been good at set pieces, and I think when you're putting a ball in like that, with the height we've got in the team now, he's always got a chance. And Williams isn't the biggest player, but he's won the header, and like you said, that's a top save from the keeper. I mean, he's probably gutted after that's ended up in the back of the net. Obviously, Amer in the right place at the right time. What we saw from a few seasons ago, when he used to get a goal every almost felt like every other week he would get a goal, and we haven't seen that much in the last few years. But I think under Harris, like I say, with his set pieces, and that's at Millwall he was known for his set pieces as well, and I think you've got the chance of goals from anywhere now. I think I was seeing a stat that I think out of the 10 that started 10 outfield players that started on Saturday, I think only Conor Masterson hasn't scored this season now, and I think when you consider before Christmas, I think we only scored 7 goals, and now we've got 9 players that have scored at least once. It just shows what we brought in January. Like you say, it's picked up the rest of the players, and it's just been incredible, really.
That's a very. Did any of you boys know that?
No, it's a great
stat. It's a great stat.
Great stat.
I don't know, as you were saying, I was thinking in my head, I was like, there's got to be more than that, surely. Someone who hasn't scored. And I'll come to my head as if you're speaking like, Alexander did. Oh, yeah. So James, on that point as well, it's obviously, as we were saying just a minute ago before the start, during the earlier parts of the season, when we're watching games and we go 1-0 down, as we did on Saturday, it's more of a case of, we may as well go home now because I'm not getting back into this game. And more often than not, that was the likelihood of the situation. And you look at this team now, and obviously with Luke said the togetherness of it as well, you always know there's a chance of this Jules side now, don't you? You know they're not going to rest on their laurels, they're going to get back into it. And I think looking at the times of the goals, I think from going 1-0 down, I think it only took just over 15 minutes and we were in front. And obviously it was you know, as Luke said, he might not score another goal. I think he might disagree with you, Jake. I listened to his post-match interviews. He does them every day in training. So but I suppose he would say that, wouldn't he, to be fair to him. But, you know, let's just talk us through that goal, James, because it was, you know, some people look at goals and they say that's certainly worthy of winning any game, and that strike from Shea certainly falls into that category, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. What a strike! What a strike! Yeah, it's like as it come down. I know we obviously spoke on the phone the other day about it, and I know your opinion was, oh, please don't hit it, but I just kind of was like, oh yeah, shoot, go on. And like, yeah, as it's come down and it's left his foot, you knew it was in. As soon as it's left his foot, it's an incredible strike. And to be fair, it capped off a really good display by Shea. I thought he played really, really well on Saturday. And we talk about sort of characters and players that have fallen by the wayside under Harris, under this new regime. And he's been one of those ones that he's definitely been a shining light in recent weeks. He obviously set up Ollie's winner at Grimsby. He played a part in the Lapsley second goal at Rochdale. He obviously then scored again on Saturday, and I think he's been one of those ones that has just knuckled down and worked really, really hard. And I think that certainly epitomises all of the group on Saturday. You mentioned obviously at the start of your question about going ahead within 15 minutes of going behind, and I think that's what the group have got now, is that they don't really know when they're beaten. And I think when you're down there and you're struggling, or struggling in terms of league position, where we've put ourselves in the first half of the season, that's what we've got in our side now. Is that, but I think also that's what the new signings have brought in. The new signings have brought in belief, and they've brought in a standard of high quality. And certainly when you're playing with better players, that probably makes you play better. That probably increases the standard in training and games. And that's what we've got, is that we've got a standard of player that, or standard of players that are increasing ability, and Shea Strike is wonderful, and he deserves it.
And just to touch on what you said there, James, I saw, and I got another stat for you here, that was the first league goal we scored from outside the box this season, and I think that shows an enormous confidence in the players. I think at Rochdale, I remember that we had 2 shots outside the box in the first 10 minutes, and they weren't far away. I think that just shows the confidence. I mean, in the first half of the season, I can't remember us taking many pot shots, and if you don't shoot, you don't score at the end of the day.
All the stats, isn't he?
Harry Sat Kinslow.
Yeah.
That's why he's here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it is.
It took a hefty fee, but we got him here. Luke, it is obvious that some sort of players after the window have improved dramatically in performances, and we're going to take a bit of time now to talk about individuals, one of them being Alexander. We've already spoke to James about him, and we're going to continue that on with you as well in terms of Shea. As James said, in recent performances, he's certainly, well, you know, the proof is in the pudding of his performance. I think he's someone that we perhaps thought would be a bit part player for the rest of the season. We didn't really think he'd be in the squad too much. You know, Tutonda was in great form. He's not, maybe the last couple of games he's drifted off a little bit, not dramatically, but not quite the performances we saw a few weeks ago. Robin McKenzie obviously wasn't involved in the squad at all this past week, maybe due to injury. We're not too sure yet, but Shea certainly has proved his worth, hasn't he, the last recent games, and he's proof that, you know, under the right regime, and if you train well, and no matter how other players are playing, if you have better players around you, you naturally up your game, and he's definitely taken that in his stride and deserves to be in the team now, and he's doing particularly well, isn't he? Yeah,
and I think if you look at his first performance against Wimbledon at the beginning of the season, that performance is night and day, and he's a player that's obviously had to wait for his opportunity again since the turn of the year, and then he's grabbed it, you know, 2 hands on the ball and grabbed his opportunity when it's arose. Obviously, you mentioned the performances when he's come on as a sub, obviously assisting the goal for Roddy Hawkins, and then his last 2 performances I think have been, you know, very, very steady, and I think he gives us a little bit something different than what McKenzie does, in fact the way he does want to drive at players. Over McKenzie sometimes does that a little bit, but obviously Robbie McKenzie scored a couple of goals. But I think he just gives that a little bit of a different option. He's definitely more comfortable in the ball, and obviously we see his bit of skill running through the centre of the park on Saturday as well. But I was worried for him in January, especially when McKenzie had slotted in nicely, playing well. I didn't think he would get a look in, but now I believe Harris has got. He said in his post-match that Robbie's got a slight groin injury, so now he's got his opportunity to cement his place for the rest of the season, really. And I think, you know, if we look at Tutunda's form lately, he could find himself as the solid right back for the remainder of the year.
I think he certainly deserved that, and the evidence so far. We are going to talk about two more players, one of which we're going to hang off a bit because we've given him more luxurious reasons to talk about him perhaps. But second player we're going to talk about from the game on Saturday. We'll go to you first, James. And Luke, I know you'll be itching to talk about him. It's going to be Aidan O'Brien. Obviously, we lost Tom Nichols relatively late in the first half, which wasn't a welcome sight whatsoever because Tom's been very impressive for us so far. But as Neil Harris said, he looks behind him, he sees Aidan O'Brien. It's a hell of an option to bring on, isn't it? And he's someone that I said on the way out to the ground to someone that I don't think he's going to score necessarily a lot of goals for us, but he brings so much to us. He has that experience, that guile to know when to make the right runs, can hold up the ball, bring others into play. He looks a superb addition so far on the face of it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's everything you want in a Gillingham striker. I think he often reminds me of really the forwards that we've watched down the years, and he reminds me in a way of a Danny Kedwell in a way. Is that he won't score you an awful lot. Danny worked hard, and to be fair in League Two he had a good goal scoring record for us. But for me, Aidan has got touches of just really too good for this level. You can tell that he's played Championship football for a long time. His movement, his cleverness, his skill to bring people into play. He certainly, when we got ourselves into a winning position on Saturday, everything stuck to him. And he's just a class act really. And if we can go and get him on a perm in the summer, he will be one of the first we should really be getting onto a contract, because he wants to move locally. He's already said that, and he wasn't obviously playing at Shrewsbury for whatever reasons. But I think he's been one of our best signings in January for sure.
Yep. Luke,
I tweeted him on Saturday saying that he needs to sign on a permanent. So Aidan, if you're listening, I'll reiterate that point. And I think obviously James has mentioned all of these different characteristics, but again, you see him on Saturday when we've gone 2-1 up and the ball went into the Medway stand. He's telling the ball boy to calm it down. We're in a winning position. It's just things like that I absolutely love. Again, when against Grimsby, when he's buying fouls late on in the game and smiling and smirking at Neil Harris, and he's doing it back in, and you can see that he's obviously mentioned himself. They've got kind of like a father and son bond. And that's the type of player that I want to see in my team. He absolutely loves his football at the minute. He said that he's half an hour away from home. If we can, hopefully, you'd probably look at him mutually terminating his contract at Shrewsbury because they don't want him today. And we get him if we can get him on a free, that'd be absolutely an amazing bit of business. But I just think it's his all-round game what he gives us. And again, Harris mentions it. He doesn't give the ball away when he gets it. His first touch is insane. And again, he's a natural born leader, and next year we're going to need players of his calibre that have won things, played a higher league of football to really go on a promotion charge. And I, for one, hope he signs for us next year. You could even give him. He's only 29. You could even give him a 2.5-year contract. You know, if we're going to get promoted into League One, he's the type of players that you want to run because he's been there and done it.
You know what, Harry, that's something that actually surprised me. I knew a couple of weeks ago he was only 29. It feels like somebody who's been around for years, doesn't he? Obviously, with stints at Millwall, Sunderland, Portsmouth, Shrewsbury, and then obviously now with us. He did suffer an injury at Shrewsbury. I think has kept him out for the majority of this season. But certainly, people talk about, you know, during the window about Harris and the pull he has in terms of, you know, former players, his contacts, and obviously being with Aidan, and obviously we saw it again in the summer with Sean. It's definitely such a valuable asset to have during a window, isn't it? Having someone who can bring in these type of players, and Aidan certainly fits the mould of what a Neil Harris team is. And so far, I think come the end of the season, we'll be looking at him and looking at where we finished, thinking he played a vital part in that. Yeah,
definitely. And as James said, you can tell he's played in the Championship. I think the first thing I want for a Gillingham player is to work hard, and he does that, but also he's got the quality to back it up. As James said, you know, his close control is just a joke. I mean, I remember he picked the ball off Rochdale, had 3 players around him, and I think he's nutmegged one and then played a pass off, and it's just like everyone said, the ball just sticks to him. It's just, that's what you want, you know. As he works hard and he's got the quality, you know. I can't see how that could ever be a bad signing, because it's, you know, like you say, he just, you can tell his game management as well. You know, his experience, just everything. Just like you say, I think we've got to do everything to get him in the summer. You know, he probably came here and if he just said he'd be on a bench in League Two, then he probably would have been worried. But you know, now with Nichols' injury, he'd probably start playing the next few weeks. And I think I remember saying to one of my mates at Rochdale, you know, when you've got Tom Nichols out the side, who's probably been one of our better players before that since he's come in, and you're replacing him with Aidan O'Brien. Like that's ridiculous. Like, you know, with the strikers we had him before Christmas, mentioning no names, you know, it's such a, I just can't explain it. It's something we haven't seen for a while. Just to have options, depth, and different options too. I think, you know, it's all well and good having a plan A, but we've got a plan B now too, and I think that's a big part of the squad depth. And yeah, I think it's only a good thing going forward.
I would be keen to see a starting when we're a little bit more safe towards the end of the season, is maybe seeing a front three of O'Brien, Hawkins and Nichols. I'll be quite keen to see how that works, because you know, you've still got Tammy on the bench, which when he's come on, I think he looks like a good player, and I think he will probably sign him in the summer as well. But it'd be nice to see if that would work and what that would look like. Maybe that goes against my attacking Neil Harris mindset. He might not do it, but I think I would love to see it at the end of the season. I think he will, but that'd be great to see them three all up front, because that if I was in defence, that front three would scare me a lot.
I think certainly at this level it'd be a very intimidating front three for sure. So the final player we're going to talk about before we head on to talk about the February month as a whole is a player we've all decided between us. I think we're all quite comfortable in deciding has been our player of the month. Any objections before we go?
No, not from me. I think the only
I haven't said it yet. It's jumping the gun.
I'll let you say who it is before I ruin it.
We have mutually decided on the ME7 podcast that our player of the month for this month is Max Amer. Go on, Luke.
Sorry. Yeah, well, I think my only objections that would have been, like I would have looked to go for an attacking player, because the amount of goals we scored compared to before Christmas. But I think from a player improvement perspective, he's come on leaps and bounds. You know, I think that he got a lot of criticism last season, and I think rightly so. But then, like I say, you look at the players he's got around him now, and he doesn't generally put a foot wrong. You know, I think he's a leader. I think, you know, he's a good quality centre back for League Two. I think, you know, there was a lot League One, maybe not because of, you know, his age now. He's maybe lost a yard of pace, if he ever had one. But now he's in League Two. I think he suits League Two because it's a more physical league. He's a physical player, and I think I think his goal on the weekend just tops it off. I think, yeah.
Yeah, James, where we've talked about in the last 10 or 15 minutes about players improving with better players around them, I think Max certainly fits that mould. And one thing I like about Max is it's not been without difficulties for the past 2 or 3 years, not just with us. Obviously, he had the relegation with Bristol Rovers. Their fans didn't take too kindly to him there, and obviously he went down with us last year, and it was looking for up until Christmas time that it might end up being 3 on the bounce, which would have been a horrific stat for any footballer to have. But I think Mac deserves a lot of credit for how far he's come, both mentally and on the pitch in recent years, because he gets slack from Jules fans. He has done the whole time. He's been here rightly or wrongly. He's been here the whole time, and I think, you know, as we talked about earlier about better players coming in and making the players that are already there better, I think he certainly is one of the better examples you'll find of that, and I think he deserves a lot of huge credit for, especially the second half of this season, how he's come about.
Yeah, and I've been one of the ones to criticise him, because for me, prior to this season, it's just not been anywhere near good enough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. He's not, and it's not just Max. It's not just him as an individual. It's just collectively last season when we got relegated, we just weren't good enough. We were conceding goals that were just human errors. And look, that I'm not going to sit here and say that he didn't care or he was deliberately making mistakes, because I've read comments and things like that about Max and saying that he deliberately sent us down or he deliberately made those mistakes or whatever else. At the end of the day, no one makes those mistakes deliberately. But for me, he was treated badly at Bristol Rovers by Joey Barton. The comments that Joey come out and said about him was just wrong, and you shouldn't be saying that about sort of any individual, footballer or not. But he come back here. Evans saw something in him to bring him back here. And look, Max, for any player that's played for the football club well over 200 times, you don't play well over 200 times without being a half decent footballer. And Max has his errors. Like any Gills player, he has his errors. But one thing for sure is that the reason why we've given him Player of the Month this month is because we've kept a lot of goals and chances out this month, and been defensively very good this month because of him. Him and Connor have built an excellent partnership. And I said on the space on Saturday night, one area that he's improved himself, what I thought, to be fair, was an area that he did need to improve, was his 1v1 situations. He, for me, would get beaten very easily in a 1v1 situation. That he stopped that. He has stopped that in recent weeks. He has stopped that being beaten in 1v1 situations. There was a few times on Saturday that he was getting pinned by, I think, is it Josh Davison who plays up front for Wimbledon? And just could not get the beating of Max all afternoon. Max had him in his pocket. And yeah, fair play to Max. He stood up. He's been one of those characters that's come through the hard times, and he deserves it because he's been absolutely brilliant this month for sure.
Yeah, look, I know obviously I won't go into too much detail. I'll let you take it. But obviously, what you were telling us before we went live, you seemed to be very personal with Max for your gratitude over the past couple of days.
Yeah, I did see him Saturday night. I may have had a few too many beers when I did see him, but I did tell him that it was criminal that he didn't get man of the match on Saturday, because I thought he was outstanding. But yeah, and one thing that I think that he also, what I was very critical of him, is that he never wanted to make a short 5-yard pass or 10-yard pass to his partner or to out the flanks. Over the last 3 weeks, he stopped the long ball, because that's all we did last year. When he got the ball out of his feet, he wanted to go long. I haven't seen that much of that over the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is, again, well, I know we've got someone in Ollie Hawkins that's 6'6", but we still need to play a different way of football sometimes, and the way you're passing out to, especially Che Alexander, on Saturday, he stopped that. But when I look at him again now, is that he hasn't seemed, apart from the turn of the cultures, the game, doesn't really seem to lose any headers anymore. Which again is another part of the game that he must have been working on. But he gets a lot of stick and sometimes for not the right reasons. He seems to be a bit of a scapegoat when we do concede a goal. Everyone just goes straight to Max and blames him, and it's not the case. And I think, again, from, let's say, January, I thought he was good as well. But this month, I think he's been outstanding. And I do agree with what a lot of people say, that he needs a player of experience next to him to get the best out of him. And I think you've got that in Connor Masterson, because Connor's another great player. And again, like we spoke about of Aidan O'Brien, Connor's will be on a free at the end of this season. They will be a great centre-back partnership to go on a title winning or a promotion winning season next season, because we are going to stay in the league. Then I'd be more than happy to see Max and Connor here next year. I know a lot of people said that his time may come, but I'd be more than happy to see Amy and Masterson as our 2 centre-backs next season.
No, I think absolutely. I think Masterson's been someone who we knew how good he was last year. He's come back again in January, and we're seeing the same sort of pedigree we saw from him last year, which is a player with a lot of potential, still a bit raw in some areas, but someone who has made an instant impact once again in this team, and seems to be someone that, if we can get in the summer, will be another perfect addition. So we're just going to quickly run through the month as a whole. Obviously, please correct me if I've forgotten any games. I've been thinking about this a few times. Is there any I've forgotten? So since we did the last show, that was just after the Crawley game, which of course we won. Then I believe it was the trip to Mansfield, which was a 2-0 defeat. Then back-to-back wins, firstly here against Grimsby with a 2-1 victory. Then a 2-0 victory away at Rochdale. And then the 2-1 victory at Wimbledon. Correct? Everyone correct?
Yeah, correct.
I haven't forgotten one, that's good. Well, we'll just go give it to the floor, go around and give quick opinions on the month so far. Well, to the end. I think we've got one more game tomorrow, which is just before the end of the month, so we'll obviously won't know what happens by the time that comes around. But yeah, Harry, what's your opinion been on the full month of February so far, and obviously the great turn of form we've had during it?
I don't think you can have any complaints. I mean, like I said, I think any complaints I've seen on social media, I just think, where was you before Christmas? Because just scoring goals, keeping goals out, you can't really complain. I think the Mansfield result, obviously, you never want to lose a game of football, but I think I tweeted out after the game that we've lost to a very good League 2 side. They're well organised. It's a tough place to go. Mind you, they did get battered on Saturday, I think, against Salford. But generally, I think their next game or one of the games after they went away or won 4-0 at Carlisle or something. They're a good side in this league, and I think that's sometimes you will lose football matches, and if you're losing to a side of that quality, I think you can't really have any complaints. I think then to go on to Grimsby, I think you might have felt a little bit of pressure, the first loss in a few weeks. Would the players go back to the sort of old habits? And there was none of that really. I think that was just a win. That's the sort of game we need to be winning. Grimsby aren't the worst side in the league, but they're certainly not the best, and that's the game you need to be winning. And obviously we've done that. You go to Rochdale and you think, there might be a little bit of pressure because they are where they are, and there's they lose every week almost. And we had a very professional performance. Although I think in the second half we were holding on a bit before that second goal. They had a few decent chances, but I think again, professional performance. And same with Saturday. It was a professional performance against an average League Two side. I think for me, the big thing in League Two is that you haven't actually got to be that good. You've just got to be better than the team on the day, and that's you've got to grind out results. You look at Stevenage. We've seen them twice this season. I've not been impressed by them at all. They grind out results, and that's what you've got to do in League Two. Any quality you can have is just a bonus, really, but you just get the points on the board. And I think I said multiple times this season, I can count the amount of teams I've been impressed by on one hand. I think a lot of teams just do what they can on the day, take the result, and on to the next game. And I think that's what we need more of.
I think that's a really good point. I think there's actually only one team that I thought of that I've seen at Priestfield anyway that I thought had been generally better than us, and that was when we lost 2-0 to Mansfield, and obviously Lapsey scored. He seems a decent player, we should probably sign him. But yeah, James, it's a good point from Harry, isn't it? Obviously we had that setback at Mansfield. I know you were there. You saw that game, yeah. And there's a lot of people who were very quick to put the knife in the back of Neil Harris for certain decisions or whatnot. But since then we've won 3 successive games in a bounce. So it's certainly the sign, if we're talking about the month in general, that we've had the setback, we've recovered from it quickly, and we've not looked back at this point, have we? So it's been another incredibly impressive month, and another sign of this team being completely different to what we saw in the first half of the season, in the sense that it can have a setback and immediately jump straight back from it. Yeah,
and in football you are sometimes going to be beaten by better sides. That is what it is. Mansfield are a better side than us. This is what it is. They've got better quality at this current moment. Their only downfall really is that they waste an awful lot of chances, and that's probably what stopped us getting beaten 4 or 5-0 that day, in all fairness. But look, we've had an excellent month. To sum it up, we weren't quite at the races in the first half against Grimsby, but we come out and beat them. Rochdale were extremely poor, and will finish bottom of this league, without a shadow of a doubt. And probably, to be fair to us, didn't really have to get out of first gear to even win the football match. And then obviously Saturday, where again you look at Wimbledon, who were currently 12th before kick-off, and again were poor. I thought they were poor on Saturday, Wimbledon. But like Harry said, hit the nail on the head, is that you don't have to be a good side to win football matches at this level. You just have to. It is weird. You have to turn it up a gear for 15 minutes in games. You have to keep it. You won. You have to.
45.
Yeah, or 45 in our case. But to be fair, if you look at the 45, we've turned it on in 15 minutes of those 45 minutes and won games. But you have to do 2 things in 45 minutes. You have to go up a notch, go up a gear, and then in those 15 minutes, you have to apply a bit of pressure, score up a couple of goals, and you've won the game. You don't have to do an awful lot to win games at this level. But I think what we've done really, really well in this last month is that, one, we've kept ourselves in football matches, even when we're not playing well. And then what we've then done is turned it up a gear and applied pressure and scored goals at crucial times and taken chances. We've taken crucial chances at crucial times. And you can't take any sort of criticism towards Neil or the management. They've got the tactical changes right. They've got the teams right. They've got the substitutions right. They've got everything correct. Football won't go like that all the time. But to be fair to them, they've got 7 points clear of safety. Could go 10 tomorrow night. What a month.
Luke, it's obviously the thing is when you're doing well on the pitch, it comes off the same off the pitch as well, and we've seen that definitely with some of the attendances that have got up. Obviously, Brad and Shannon put together the Pay What You Like thing for Crawley, which was a massive success. We had a good return in terms of fans coming for the Grimsby game, especially on Valentine's Day as well. And we had another 7,500 here on Saturday. So the performances and the success we've had this past month is obviously giving people a reason to think and want to come back as well, isn't it? Which is an incredibly important thing to have, especially for a club at our level.
I think one thing that you can't argue with is that we've got a terrific fan base, and again, being the only club in the only EFL club, in Kent, it's scary to think that we're getting 7,500 here against a team against Wimbledon, who are a mid-table side, might have a sneaky chance of getting to playoffs. I doubt it, but we still had 7,500. Imagine what we can do next year if we're going to be fighting for a League 2 promotion. You'd be expecting another 1,500, 10,000 here every week, and that again puts the faith the fans are putting back into Brad and Shannon. And obviously, I just want to touch on a couple of points that we've made already about Neil. I would be surprised if he didn't win Manager of the Month this month.
Hope not. The curse.
But yeah, and you have to say he deserves it. I'll give him a lot of pelters, sometimes rightly so, sometimes I may get a little bit excited and not have a rational thinking. But yeah, he regardless of the result tomorrow, I think he'll be nominated for Manager of the Month. And we go on from there. But something that I've to kind of take a note this month is kind of looking to the future a little bit more within the side. I think I said where we're 7 points, so now 7 points away from relegation. I'm looking about. I think it stands out now some of the players and in positions that we need to reinforcements in. I think for next season again, we need a solid left back. Obviously from kind of Davies' up and down performance over the last couple of months, but now I'm more about enjoying watching the game, believing in the team. But you can see now looking at where we need to make improvements for next year, and I think that's a nice place to be in, considering in December we were sitting rock foot of League 2, staring in the abyss of National League football. So yeah, fantastic month, and like I say, long may it continue, and I hope Neil continues to get it right, and I mean that with from the bottom of my heart, because I like to say I do like him. And he is a Gillingham manager, isn't he? He's the type of person that we'd want at the helm.
I reckon deep down someone goes into your bedroom at home, there's photos of Neil Harris everywhere. But yeah, certainly, James, someone you spoke to very recently, someone who's been a big part of getting this turnaround in motion is Paul Fisher. Obviously, people would have seen the first half of the interview that came out with him yesterday afternoon. Just talk us through firstly the interview you did for him and what we can expect from part 2, which you're going to see very, very shortly.
It was brilliant. Fish was absolutely brilliant for the hour he gave his time. And to be fair, what I wanted to do, I wanted to make it a chat and get to know Fish. I think it's important that he's set up and done a lot of interviews in front of camera, and he's done these fans forum and sort of been very corporate. But I think it's important to get to know him as a person and ultimately the work he's done for the football club. And he's a very modest guy. He doesn't like all of the credit going his way, but he deserves a huge amount of credit. And I know he's got a great team behind him and with him. But he is one of the reasons Brad and Shannon come into the football club. And he is one of the reasons we thank him so much for giving our football club back. And I wanted to give him an hour of an opportunity of him speaking about the football club and about him. So in part 2, you're going to see a little bit more of that, but also we've put some questions to him from the fans as well. So he answers that in some interesting ways.
Yeah. So without further ado, part 2 of the Paul Fisher interview is now live for you.
About the main man then, Neil Harris. He's 4 wins out, lost 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant man.
Yeah. I've had a good relationship with Neil, and certainly, in the autumn it was difficult. It was difficult for Neil, myself, and everyone. When everything at a football club revolves around results. Yeah. Neil. I've said this lots of times. Neil and all his team work bloody hard. They're all in here before I am of a morning, and you can't. But it just. Neil didn't really necessarily have the personnel, did he? I think he's a good coach, very experienced coach. and most importantly, you know, a really honest, decent human being, and that's always important to me in life.
Yeah, because I think if we sort of reverse it back to trying to stay in League One, we were 10 points off safety, and he took it down to the last day.
Yeah.
With a squad of players that weren't his.
I know, and yeah, you know, Neil's a good coach. He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
He knows what he's doing. Hey, look, it's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be bumps in the road, you know. And that's where I get slightly disappointed with people, you know, still balling him out last night, you know. But I know that's football. Everyone has their opinions and stuff. And we all, as fans, you want to go along and vent your frustrations. But, you know, we're doing okay at the moment. And Neil's the man behind that. So I'm hugely supportive of Neil.
Yeah, 4 wins out of the last 6. And considering 11 new players into the group, that's not easy to bed that in.
You know, you sort of feel... See, Levy, if you signed 11 in the summer, you'd probably have 3 or 4 pre-season matches.
Yeah.
You can play about a bit with the shape, play a bit about with the personnel, learn a bit about the players, what's their characters. And I think the first half last night, you know, he'd made a change in midfield. You know,
George coming for Sean.
Yeah, he brought George in, and Sean, you know, he rested Sean. And you could see, I just thought they would still come to terms with not having Sean sitting there in front of the back four. It was a bit all over the place, but you know, Neil, he obviously knows what he's doing. Second half, changed it around a tad. George pushed up a bit, and the rest is history, really. I thought we played bloody well second half.
Yeah, because I thought, Shay, come on.
Yeah.
We got the assist.
Yeah.
I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, but how good is it that some of the players who maybe, you know, were the sort of lesser players maybe in the squad, as soon as the new players, everyone's raising their game, isn't it? You know, everyone's raising their game. Is that competition?
Yeah.
Is it just they've got better players around them? Is it just bringing out the best of them? It's probably a combination of all of those. But most importantly, we're getting the results, and we're starting to get the results.
Out of the relegation zone.
How good's that? Right. I mean, I keep looking at the table. I couldn't bring myself to look at the table in November and December.
Yeah, nor was I.
Yeah, I couldn't look at it. But now look at the table.
BBC Sport and block Sky Sport and not looking at it.
We're all like it as football fans, aren't we? And but I've looked at it about 3 times today. I'm trying to work a few things out. I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah, we are definitely. Obviously we were speaking off air and things like that about the digital media side of things, and it's obviously a massive part, and it has been a massive part since you come in, Brad had come in. You're both sort of very vocal on there. But I think it's brilliant. I think from a point of view as a fan base, and I know obviously it's brilliant from a point of view that we run a podcast.
Yeah.
But why is it important for you?
Well, I just think it's how people absorb media now. You know, there's the traditional channels. You know, people when I was growing up, you know, I'd watch telly. We had 3 channels. You know, that's all we could watch. You know, now people absorb media in loads and loads of different ways. You know, my kids just they don't even watch TV. You know, so everything's on their phones, and you know, social media I think now just plays. It's got some good, you know, it's got some huge benefits. It's got some bad sides as well, which we have to monitor and be careful about.
Yeah.
But I think for me, one of the things I thought had happened at Gillingham was that the club and the fans have become a bit disconnected. So that's why, you know, when I was kind of running it before Christmas, before Brad and Shannon, I was very conscious I wanted to sort of try to reconnect with the fans and the club. I said to Phil, you know, I want to do a podcast, you know, on YouTube, and I did a Q&A session complete with orange curtains next door, I think. I wanted to do that, you know, just to show fans that we are all human beings and let fans know what was going on at the club. So everyone absorbs media in so many ways, and so I think the digital channels have got a huge role to play.
Yeah.
I think you have to be careful. You know, I won't engage with people once they start abusing us. I think you have to say, look, okay, you know, these are the rules. I think people have to stick to the rules. But no, I think it's got a huge role to play, really. Yeah. And I think, you know, Brad. To be fair to Brad, you know, Brad's never done social media before this, so you know, he didn't know much about Twitter and stuff. Shannon's knows a lot more about that sort of stuff. She's the marketeer, but hopefully, I think the fans can see that we're human beings and we're trying to engage with them.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what it's all about. That's nothing more, nothing less, really.
Absolutely. We noticed sort of what October time, November time that Brad was liking our stuff and things like that, and we were like,
I did.
we were like, is this Brad or is this someone?
Yeah, a spoof one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is funny because I think I looked on Twitter one night and I think he'd liked something, and I think may have been Brad and Shannon had come to watch a game, and I said, you do realise now your name's out there, and I think somebody had tweeted it and said, is this the real Brad Shannon,
Yes.
the real Brad Gallinson?
Yeah.
And I sort of playfully wrote on it, said, yeah, I think you'll find it is. And so, we had we were laughing about that. But it just shows how important it is, you know, and how I was amazed how fans then did their research on Brad.
Yeah.
You know, they sort of did their own research into him. And, but it just, it's hopefully we can just see we're all human beings and we're trying to do what's best for the football club.
Yeah, I do find it still a bit surreal that you, Brad, the players are listening to the podcast, because never had it.
Yeah, but it's feedback, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's feedback.
Yeah,
If you're doing a podcast and you've got 100 or 250 people listening to it and they're all saying we've got this wrong, we've got that wrong, then I want to know that. So it's kind of it's great feedback.
Yeah.
It's great feedback, and that's kind of how I see it. And hopefully gives me a chance to even get some of the messages across to the fans. Okay, you might think we got this wrong. This is the reasons why we got it wrong, rather than you just bloody got it wrong, you know, and do something about it. At least we can show you that we're listening.
Absolutely. Talk on that subject. We have had quite a few questions come in from people.
Right.
People have sent in their questions for tonight. We've kind of whittled it down because a lot of people sent in the same ones. So
That's what me and Phil did. People thought we edited them, but we didn't.
No.
We grouped them because there was themes.
Yeah, we've grouped them. There was one off air that you really did like about the train one.
Oh yes.
So I am gonna read it to you. So apparently in Germany, football clubs do a thing where they include travel by train. That includes with their match ticket. As a football club, is there any scope that we can do that?
Has anyone ever tried speaking to train companies these days?
Has anyone
if they're not on
tried to
strike?
deal with
South East. Look, in my previous life in the horse racing industry, you know, when I was running Kempton Park, you know, we had a station right there on site.
Yeah.
And so we was always talking to them to do sort of deals and trying to do some stuff. So, yeah, we will talk to them. We will try to do some stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to get back to those kind of romantic days when for the big away days in a cup game, you'd book a train. You know, you'd book a whole train and you'd have a football train special. And, I've been on a couple of those over the years and they used to be brilliant. But trying to timetable trains into the network if they're not on bloody strike is difficult. But the southeastern one, I think, is an interesting one that we will explore. And I think as the club gets more popular and we start taking more and more fans away, then there's definitely scope to hopefully do something. Yeah,
we're seeing it, aren't we? We're seeing an incredible increase in attendances, certainly away from home.
It's brilliant.
Like 1,000 to Swindon.
Brilliant.
650 to Mansfield. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it just shows again the potential of this club. And I think it also shows just the club's been, fans have been a bit starved of success. And I think hopefully everyone's getting behind a club because they can see we're all pulling in the same direction now.
Yeah. I know you've obviously got a great relationship with the Gills Independent Sports Club. You've had a really good meetings with them and things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, they put on...
And the Supporters Trust.
Yeah.
Had a meeting, Brad and I had a meeting with them a couple of Saturdays ago, which I think they appreciated.
Yeah, they put on, obviously, the away travel and do really, really well with it. I noticed Hull do a thing where they've sort of subsidised the away travel to get more numbers or whatever. Is there any sort of scope around that? Well,
I think Peter Lloyd organises the away travel, and I know Peter very well. And I think how it tends to work. I think people pay probably a bit more than they ought to pay for the closer games.
Yep.
So I think they're slightly more overpriced, and the more distance ones are slightly more underpriced and subsidised by that.
Yeah.
But again, I think some of this is all going to come down to demand. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
In my younger days here, we were taking sort of 25, 30 coach. I remember I was about 15 or 16 that year with the playoffs against Swindon. It might have been when I was 17. I remember it was about 35 coaches or so that went down to Swindon. Yeah, it was amazing. I think I was on one that got bricked, I think. So that was all character building. But it was, wouldn't it be great to get back to those days?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But we just got success. As we get more successful,
hand in
fingers
hand.
crossed, it will go hand in hand with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, obviously, I did listen to your interview that you did with Talk Sport.
The other day
after Crawley, and I think you mentioned about the fact of the biggest thing that you wanted out of it was to see Gillingham fans coming back through that door.
Yeah.
It wasn't about sort of the offer. It wasn't anything about making money out of it.
Absolutely.
It was about the fact of you wanted Gills fans to come back through that door. Do you think you saw what you wanted to see out of that?
Well, we sold out in 24 hours.
There you
I
go.
had loads of my mates ringing me up saying, "Can you get us a ticket, Fish? Can you get us?" I said, "No." I said, "Every bloody seat has got." "No, you must be holding some back." No, it wasn't. There wasn't. There was one chap who I'd never met before who contacted me. It was his birthday, and I managed to find him and his son a seat in the director's box. It was his birthday, and he, But anyway, it was not. I wanted to do that for him, so he'd been a supporter for a number of years. But we literally sold out. I mean, it just had a real buzz around the place, didn't it?
Brilliant.
And it was kind of, that's what Gillingham Football Club should be.
Yeah.
And I just wanted the fans to kind of rediscover it. And we also shouldn't kid ourselves. We are in the middle of a cost of living crisis. And as much as we do kids for free, football is something, if you haven't got a lot of money at the moment, or, you got a big heating bill just come in or something like that, you can give Gills a miss, can't you, really?
Yep.
So hopefully people have had a chance to come and see, what it's like again. And hopefully they all enjoyed the day. And I was a bit worried at half time that the players had fluffed their lines a bit, but we did turn it around, didn't we? And I thought, everyone walked away, and it was a great atmosphere. And we sold a lot of hats and scarves. The factory, I think, was full by about 20 past 11 that morning. We opened at 11. I think we did 350 people in the factory by about 11:30, something like that. I think people rediscovered the Gillingham Football Club, and that's what I wanted, and I certainly know Brad wanted that.
I think for me, I took a massive sort of step back in the Raining Men that day, and just went, Brad's not lying. This really is a sleeping giant.
Yeah. Well, I'm also conscious. A lot of fans, probably people who are sort of 25 years old now, or anybody who's sort of not over 30, have never seen the club like that, probably.
No.
And I say to even some of the staff who work here, I say to them, "Look, guys, this is what this club is like. You've got to be ready for it now. Because this snowball, I feel the snowball's been pushed over the top of the hill now, and we're only going to just gather pace." And I said, we as a club have got to be ready for it.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think there'll be another offer for the end of the season?
Well, I think we can only do 2.
I know you can.
We can only do 2. And, it's a business. We can't just give money away.
Absolutely not.
But that day, I reckon I think all in all, it's probably cost us, compared to what we would have normally sort of taken and made out of a day financially, probably cost us $5,000.
Yeah.
I'd argue, wear my marketing hat really, $5,000 to have got another 4,000 or 5,000 fans through and their data and know who they are, and it's pretty good value for money really. And I was encouraged I was a bit disappointed, but also encouraged. What did we get last night? 5,100, something like that.
Yep.
And pre-Christmas, it was Valentine's night, half term, winter's evening. Due respect, Grimsby. It wasn't Bradford, it was Grimsby. But I mean, fair play to them. They brought plenty of fans last night. We probably would have been struggling to get 3,000 probably, and we ended up with 5,000. We've grown the crowd by 60-70% on the back of that. Yeah. That feels, I'm sure the marketeers out there would realise that's pretty good investment really.
Absolutely. I think we'll see the real sort of benefits and how big we're really growing sort of attendance wise in the next Saturday home game, which is
the Wimbledon one.
Wimbledon.
Yeah, Wimbledon. Yeah, I was talking to some of my colleagues today about that. I'd be kind of aiming to see us get over 7,000 for that. I hope.
Why not?
I see. They're going to bring a freak. They're going to bring a few, and if we get a result at Rochdale, and I just kind of feel the club's going in the right direction now.
Yeah.
So hopefully a few people will, give it another go.
Absolutely. I think also the biggest thing is certainly for next season is growing that season ticket base as well, because they're really the ones that will come week in, week out.
Yeah, and that's declined a bit.
Yeah.
That's, I think people...
Is that a bit of annoyance?
Yeah,
a little bit?
Yeah. But hey, look, it all comes down to success on the pitch.
Of course, yeah.
Football, we're in the entertainment business, and you've got to entertain people. And if we don't entertain them, why should they spend their money with us? Yeah. So we've got to entertain people, and we've got to give them a good time when they come here. That's obviously with how the team plays and how the quality of the footballers who we employ, but as importantly, it's about the experience that we give them when they come here. That they can get some food, they can get a drink when they want it, and they've got clean toilets and all that sort of stuff.
I thought it was really brilliant last night. Like, I went to the back of the Rainham End and saw 4 food stalls open, being serviced.
Yeah.
Hot food, brilliant.
Yeah, good. Well, it couldn't have got any worse than it was, really, sort of post-COVID. And we've, hopefully people have seen a bit of a difference. Yeah. And people have rediscovered the factory, which is great.
Yeah.
Which kind of lends us to another problem, which we've got, because we just can't fit everybody probably wants to come in a factory pre-match. Yeah. So we're just working on a project at the moment where we're going to try to turn the concourse at the back of the Rainham End into thinking about what name we're going to call it, but kind of make that a bit of a pre-match fan zone as well, where we can have the food outlets open, we can have the bars open, and we can use that as somewhere where people can come in and start to congregate, not just for Rainham End people, but everybody can come in there and have a drink or something to eat before the game, and then they can go out, when the gates open at 1:30 and go and take their seats or stay in there, whatever. But it's just, we're just looking at new things we can do to improve the experience for fans.
Brilliant, yeah, because
we're going to try to put some, and we're going to hopefully put half a dozen tellies up in there and some speakers and decorate it a bit better, and so people can start to watch, the lunchtime kickoffs and stuff in there.
Lovely. Look at that. There you go. There's a bit of an exclusive for you. Look at that. Brilliant. Yeah, I like the fact of what, I don't know if you have probably noticed it, what Bradford do in terms of their season tickets, and the more they sell, the cheaper it becomes.
Yeah, the average price. Yeah, I've looked into that. I need to understand it a bit more, really. I mean, I think it's a bit different with Bradford, just the sheer scale.
I mean, they're massive.
I think they've gotten, someone said they got 19,000 season tickets, I think someone said to me. Yes. So we just need, we've got, just over 2,000. Yeah. So I think we just need to, we need to be aware of that. I think we need to sort of look at the pricing of our season tickets and see what, how we can sort of look at making it easier for people. Yeah. Maybe that is something we are going to do is, some sort of, paying quarterly payments or something like that, so people don't have to shell out, that big lump sum to start with.
Oh, brilliant! There we go. Obviously with the end of season stuff as well. I remember coming here as a kid, and remember Kevin James, of course. He gave me signed boots on an open day.
Fantastic.
Open days are brilliant, aren't they? Out on the pitch. Meeting the management, meeting the players and things like that. I presume you're a massive fan of things like that.
Anything, yeah. I mean, I never came to any of the end of season ones that we had here, but from everybody tells me they were fantastic. So, we're looking on seeing if we can do something at the end of this season. But it's kind of dates, diaries, plans. But hopefully we can do something. Yeah. But hopefully people can see we're doing a lot more kind of interaction with the fans at the moment and interacting with the community. It's Brad and Shannon's big word is about the community and what Gillingham do for the community. So that's very much part of our plans.
There you go. Last couple of questions. Where do you see Gills in 5 years?
Well, I think I'd have I think the ambition would be, and I would say ambition would be to be back in the Championship. I think that would be the ambition for everybody, and I'll be disappointed if people didn't have that ambition. Can we achieve it? We'll have to wait and see. I certainly know, Brad and Shannon would like to, achieve that. We'd all like to achieve it. It's going to be hard work. I don't want to be quoted in 6 years that we've not made it, but there's no reason why this club, in this area shouldn't have a Championship football club.
Absolutely.
It should have a Championship football club. So, that's obviously it's going to be a lot of hard work, and wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great to go on a roll and sort of try to achieve that?
Okay, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. Last question. What's your handicap?
Oh, you all know I'm a bit of a golfer. You've all
There we
seen
go.
I'm a bit of a golfer. Yeah. I wish I was a bit better than I'm about a 13. I play off.
There you go.
But I've got a son. I've got a son who's at golf college and trying to make it, and then he's a good little player. He's off like 1 or 2 or something like that now. So he's going quite well. So yeah. So I've sort of. Well, I used to give. 2 or 3 years ago, I was giving him a shot a hole. Now he's giving me 2 shots a hole. I think when we play, yeah. But it's fun. It's just kind of as I've got a bit older, I can't play football anymore. And I'm getting a bit too old even for cricket now. So I'm sort of transitioning to golf. So I quite enjoy it.
Brilliant. It allows you to relax after.
Yeah. I've got
here.
a nice little golf club I'm a member of round in Reigate where I live these days. Lots of good friends there. I like a bit of sport and a beer afterwards, so it sort of suits me. It ticks all the boxes.
Brilliant. There we go. That's the end of a just over an hour chat with.
Wow, blimey.
Well, it's gone quick, isn't it?
Yeah, enjoy yourself when you're having fun.
I know. Oh, there you go. Guys, thank you for watching. Keep liking, subscribing us. You've been watching the ME7 podcast. Back to me in the studio, I guess.
Welcome back to the ME7 podcast, Look Back Live. You've just been listening to part 2 of the Paul Fisher interview done with my co-host here, James. Thank you to Paul for giving up his time and allowing Jules fans to get a more in-depth listen and audio to the life of Paul Fisher and the impact he has made at the club. You also saw an advert for the 1893 club. Get involved by booking hospitality tickets at Priestfield to get yourself down to a game for a more luxurious experience, if you like. And also coming up on the 23rd of March, an evening with Glenn Hoddle here at Priestfield to obviously get your tickets if that interests you and have a night with one of the legends of the game. So boys, obviously we've just heard from Paul Fisher as well. We've spoken for the past hour or so about how much good form we're in and how things are very rosy, and 4 home wins in a row tomorrow night. We're back here at Priestfield under the lights for the visit of Mark Hughes' Bradford City. It's a chance to make it 5 home wins in a row, Harry.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, Bradford are such an inconsistent side in this league. I think, we've got absolutely a chance to beat them. I can't remember if are they just inside the playoffs or they're just outside at the moment?
I think they're a point or 2 out.
Yeah. So
the game in hand, but that's obviously tomorrow.
Well, they're in and around the playoffs, but like I say, they're very inconsistent. There's no reason why we can't beat them tomorrow, which is something we wouldn't have been saying a couple of months ago, a side outside the playoffs. So we've even got a chance. I think I said to you earlier on that, I'd be happy with a draw, but there's no reason why we can't win the game. I'd back us to beat anyone at the moment, the form we're in. As I say, they're inconsistent. You don't know what Bradford's going to turn up. Obviously, they've got Andy Cook up front, who's an amazing goal scorer at this level. And I think if we give him any sort of sniff, that could be the difference. But at the same time, I think we've got the quality to match that now. Like I say, I think we can give them a game. I think that's all we'd ask for, at least. And hopefully we get a result out of it.
Yeah, James, I think people looked at these 2 home games against AFC Wimbledon and Bradford and thought 6 points obviously be the dream, 4 points would be a very healthy return. Obviously, we've got 3 of those now already with the win on Saturday night. As we just heard, it's going to be far from a simple game, far from an easy task to get 3 points against this Bradford City side. As Harry said, Andy Cook is a serial goal scorer at this level where there's a lot of threats in that side. But if we were to get 1 point or even 3, it'd be a very healthy return for the last 2 fixtures, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, like you say, it's a realistic sort of aim to get 4 points out of the next 2. Tomorrow night's going to be the tougher one. We can't sort of afford to be making the mistakes that we've made in recent weeks in terms of being off it for 10, 15 minutes and sort of coasting or whatever else, or allowing chances to happen, because teams like Bradford will punish you, and that's not what we want to do. We need to start like a house on fire tomorrow night. We can't sort of afford to step our foot off the gas, and we need to take the game to Bradford, because if we don't and we allow them to play and we allow them to get a foothold in the game, they're gonna capitalise on our errors. They are where they are for a reason. Obviously, our ex-forward Dane Oliver's was not in the squad. Probably won't be in the squad for tomorrow night. That goes to show you sort of their strength in depth. And so if we can get 4 points, great. We'll 100% take it. Could then go 8 points clear. If we can get 3, we'll go 10 points clear. And I think, to be honest, we win tomorrow night, I think that's safety done. I think we will be. That is it. That is us in League 2 next season for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Look, there's a big carrot dangling there, isn't it? In the sense that, well, it goes to show how far we come. Really, tomorrow we could go 10 points clear. Crawley are the team who occupy the last relegation spot. They travel to, I believe, Tranmere Rovers tomorrow night. So, on the face of it, you could say it's a good opportunity for them to get back on track. But obviously, Tranmere just coming off the back of a win at Stevenage. It's not going to be an easy game for them. But it goes to show the significance of the difference we've made in the past few months. Where I remember when the first game got this. When was the first game at Bradford? When was that meant to be?
When the Queen died.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out when it was for.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, when obviously the Queen died, it got cancelled, and a lot of Bradford fans at the time were thinking, oh, for God's sake, we could have had an easy 3 points there. Now they'll be looking at this game rearranged, thinking, oh God, why have we got to play them now? And that's the difference, isn't it? In terms of when we would have played them back then, we'd have been thinking, well, we'll lose that game, and now a couple of months later, we're looking at it, thinking, can't wait for it. There's a good chance to get 3 points here, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think going on what Harry said earlier about you just got to be the better side on the day. If you look at teams at the weekend, obviously you wouldn't have thought Barrow would have beat Stockport, and I think again it's we're top of the form table. Bradford could be looking at this game and going, this could be a bit of a this could be a tough test. They've won their last 4 games from home. I think tomorrow we need to reverse the way that we have been playing, as in we need to be a strong first half, 45 minutes, instead of the other way around, because if we play that we have done in the first half, especially like against the Grimsby, I think we could get punished. But yeah, I'm going into the game thinking there's going to be a few changes. We don't know the situation with Tom Nichols and Timothy Diang, so we don't know how we're going to set up. It's going to be a very different side, especially if it was a concussion substitute, which I don't think has been confirmed yet. But if he's missing, I think Aidan O'Brien will start over Tom Nichols tomorrow, which again just give that Bradford a big strong side as well. So we're going to need that type of player in there as well. But yeah, if we can get a point. The last 2 games, you would have thought over the run of form, we have beaten the teams around us, but it's another stern test to see where we are as a group and where we compare to someone who's fighting to go up.
Yeah, I think I actually read somewhere the other day. It was not sure who said it, but I think with concussion protocol, I think it's 3 days they can't play for, which would include Tuesday. So if that is the case with Dieng, he won't be involved tomorrow night. Yeah, let's try and put everyone on the spot here. Let's try and go around and see if we can create a starting 11 for tomorrow. So maybe let's put it in the sense that, for argument's sake, we'll assume both Nichols and Dieng won't be involved. Harry, who would you go for? We'll let you take the defence. We'll give you the easy part.
Okay, that's fine. Glenn Morris in goal. Then I'll keep the same back 4 from Saturday. I think the only thing that I would say, if Mackenzie's fit, which obviously we're not sure the extent of the injury. I would doubt he would be, especially if he wasn't on the bench on Saturday, but I would have liked him to come in because he's a bit more of a safe option with the attacking threat they've got. I think my only problem with Tutonda and Alexander is the fullbacks. They are very much wing backs, but I think Masterson and Amar can deal with sort of the threat up front. I'm confident with that. It's just more, as I say, I think they're going to have to be more sort of sat back as a 4 a lot more on tomorrow night, rather than in recent weeks when we've been playing side sort of mid-table where we want to get up the pitch, use the width. I think you're going to have to be a lot more, like I say, just flat back 4 sort of. I would like them to get forward still, but I think it's a risky game, isn't it? I think it all depends on the balance of the midfield as well. I think obviously I won't ruin anyone else's part, but I think I think that's the back four we're going to go with. Can't see any reason to change it, apart from what I've said. I think it's quite a simple answer, really.
James, you want to talk us through the midfield?
I think there'll probably be one change in there. I think Williams has to come in. Obviously, Tim Diang, you have to be very careful with concussion. You can't muck about with it too much. So, I think the midfield will be Williams, Macca, Lapsley, and
Jeffries.
I think it'll be them four. I think all four of them for an hour on Saturday were brilliant. And I actually read obviously in the interview that Harris did after the game that didn't realise Williams had not trained all week. Didn't look like it, did he? Those four, perfectly fine. We just need to make sure that we can't sort of, like Harry says, we can't sort of be open and expansive as maybe we have been in recent weeks. We just need to make sure that we're solid in that midfield. But the one change only for me in midfield.
Yeah, and Luke, obviously, after the game, Neil Harris made the point that if someone comes off on a Saturday, it's highly unlikely they'll be available for the corresponding Tuesday. That's where Tom Nichols falls into in that sort of category. He did try and carry on Saturday. It lasted about 4 or 5 minutes before going back down again. I think that would signify that his involvement, certainly from the start, would be quite unlikely. So with that in mind, where's your mind at in terms of striking options?
Yeah, I think it'll be O'Brien and Hawkins. I think that's quite a straightforward one this week. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he went 5 at the back. Obviously attacking mindset. I wouldn't be surprised if Wright come in and we had 3 central defenders on tomorrow night.
Yeah. Lots of different opinions there, so we'll go around the group one more time just for the dreaded question to end today's show. Harry, we'll go with you first. Score prediction, what are you thinking?
I can't see anything past a 1-0, to be fair. I think I'll take that now. As pessimistic as it might sound, like I say, I think I can't see why we can't beat them, but I think I'm going to stick safe with a draw, 1-0.
You got a goal scorer?
As I said with my stat earlier, it could be anyone.
James?
I'm going 2-2. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-2. I think we've got enough to at the top end of the pitch, but they're strong. They've got one of the best strikers in the division in Andy Cook, and they're obviously they are where they are for a reason. But we're in a good run of form. 6 wins in 8. We're flying high. 4 wins in a row here as well. I think 2-2. Luke?
Yeah, I'll go for a Desmond as well.
Desmond. Goal scorers?
I'm going to go for Aidan O'Brien and George Lapsley.
Okay, I'm going to put myself forward for a 1-0 Jules victory. I wouldn't have said that an hour ago, but I feel like I've got to be different. Alexander's going to bag again, of course he is. So that brings the ME7 Look Back live from Priestfield to an end for the February edition. Obviously lots of great talking points today. Obviously everyone's enjoying the great run of form we've been on. Lots and lots of positive chats, and obviously a great run of form in this February. It will be tied off, of course, tomorrow night when Bradford City come to the Priestfield, and hopefully we make it 5 wins from 5 under the lights here at Gills. So Luke, James, any last points?
I don't think so. Well done, mate.
Yeah, well done. That was good.
Harry?
No, all done.
All right, that'll do us then. We'll see you for the next live show. We're not sure the exact date of when that will be, but we'll obviously keep you posted on that. And until then, up the Gills. Good night.